Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Eagles Power Hour, your Eastern Washington affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Patrick Frakes, and we are brought to you by Walk On Apparel. We'll hear more from them hopefully in the middle of the episode this time, not at the end, because I forgot earlier this week and did it right at the end, right before I signed out. So sorry, Colby. But we'll hear more from Walk On Apparel. Checked out their t-shirts, awesome stuff. But yeah, we're here to talk about Montana, and it's FTG week, as we like to say. I unfortunately do not have any special guests from the Grizz Fan Pod or um, Fight on Montana right now. I just wasn't able to make schedules work. Didn't I didn't reach out ahead in time. I realized I need to record today because I have class tomorrow. Scheduling crap. Anyways, they weren't able to be here. I wasn't able to link up with them and do a interview with them. So uh, I'm talking about the Grizz, and I have a unbiased opinion on the Grizz. They're a team. I've watched all their games so far, except for the Moorhead game, which I don't think anyone watched the Moorhead game. Um, they're a damn good team. They're coming in 3-1. 3-1, and flat out, Montana is a damn good team. They talking about just Montana as a whole last year. So last year, Montana went to the national championship game, and they return almost everyone except for probably two or three big names. They lose Alex Gubner, defensive tackle. He won Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year last year. Really good player, but he moved on to the NFL. I don't know if he's on a team right now or not. I think he's on the Seahawks practice squad, maybe. I'm not sure. Um, they lose Clifton McDowell to the transfer portal. He was the quarterback during that natty run. I was never super high on Clifton McDowell, but he led them to the national championship, and he is now playing at McNeese in the Southland Conference. We'll hear more about them in the Patty's Pick segment, but uh, they lose those two contributors, and then they lost a couple offensive linemen just to graduation, and that definitely has shown, losing those guys has definitely shown some weakness in this Grizz team, and we saw that this year with their loss to North Dakota. But nonetheless, this Grizz team is really good. It's a very similar story right now to last year's Grizz team. So last year's Grizz team, they started off a little slow. They played some close games. They played a close game against Butler, who is non-scholarship. They played a pretty close game against Ferris State, a Division II school. And so everyone's like, "Oh, Montana sucks," and then they dropped the game to Northern Arizona. And at that moment, a lot of people dropped Montana from their top 25 or dropped them all the way to the back end of the top 25. And after that, they rattled off 10 straight wins and went to the national championship game. Beat Idaho at Idaho. They beat or they were able to beat North Dakota State in the playoffs. They were able to beat they beat Furman in the playoffs, and they went to the national championship game. Ended up losing that game because South Dakota State was on a whole nother level. But they're a team that early they struggled, especially offensively, finding an identity because they had some quarterback problems. And by problems, I mean they had two guys that were battling for the starting spot, and in Sam Vidlak and Clifton McDowell. Vidlak, he transferred to Stephen F. Austin after the year, and he's playing at Stephen F. Austin now. McDowell led them through the season. Now he transferred to McNeese, like we mentioned earlier. So neither of those guys are back this year, and they kind of are back in a similar situation where early they've played 4 games. They played Missouri State, who's not predicted to be a very good Missouri Valley team, kind of a middle of the road Missouri Valley team. And that Missouri State team took Montana all the way to the fourth quarter and really put it to them. Ended up losing that game, but Montana won. It was a very competitive game when it was expected to be kind of a blowout. Montana has a lot of weapons on offense, and so people are like, "Oh, this Montana offense should be pretty good." They looked a little bit lost offensively, and that is because of the quarterback situation. They've been going back and forth between two quarterbacks. First 3 weeks they did. Now they're kind of leaning in on one guy, but that one guy got hurt last week, and pretty much no one knows what's going on because Bobby Houck doesn't like to disclose things. Um, So, I mean, we'll hit more on that in the quarterback side of things, but or the offensive side of things that we'll hit on in just a second. But this Montana team thematically, they've been good. They've been a decent defense, like a good defense. Nationally, they haven't been as elite as they were last year, but it's still a good defensive unit. But the offense hasn't been clicking on the level that a lot of people thought it might be, with the talent that they return. With I mean, guys like Junior Bergen, guys like Keelan White, or and uh, Fonts, I forget his first name. They got Cole Grossman there. Eli Gilman, he was the Jerry Rice Award winner last year. They return a lot of these guys, and the offense just wasn't clicking quite on the level people thought it might be through 3 weeks. Or through 2 weeks. Third week, Morehead State, they smoked them, put up 59 points. But even last week against Western Carolina, there was some questions for a while, but eventually they kind of found it. But they're a team that they seem to never fully know what their identity is. It's like they probably should be really leaning on the run game, but they still want to throw the ball 30 times a game. They try to be really balanced ish, but I don't know. I think that personally, this is just my opinion. I think they should run the ball way more, because they have issues with the offensive line and pass protection. They got a young quarterback, whatever. But let's just roll this into the offensive side of things for really quick. Montana's played 4 teams this year so far. They've played Missouri State, middle of the pack Missouri Valley team. They beat them. They played at North Dakota in the O'Leary Center. They went up 24. I think they went 24-3 at halftime. Ended up losing that game in the O'Leary Center. North Dakota fired back and really put it to them in that second half. North Dakota just got a ton of pressure on Ayotte and made it really tough on Ayotte. Ayotte actually kind of got them out of a lot of sacks in that game, and a lot of the blame was put on Ayotte, but I don't know. The play calling was kind of questionable. They ended up losing that game to a North Dakota team that right now looks like one of the best teams in the country. Probably they've been a top 10 team. But then you look at, they played Morehead State. I don't even care about Morehead State. They're barely D1. Beat them 59-2. No, they didn't give up a safety. It was a blocked extra point, got taken back for a touchdown. That only counts as 2. Went out to an extra point return touchdown. So then they played Western Carolina last week, ranked team that's expected to be pretty good. Western Carolina came out, put up, I think they were up 17-0 at one point. Then Cole Gonzalez was kind of driven into the ground late by Riley Wilson. Didn't quite look the same after that. And Montana they played a really good second half. They were able to put Western Carolina away late, a game that Western Carolina really kind of dominated the first half of. So they have yet to really, aside from Morehead State, they have yet to really put it together for four full quarters against like a good team. That being said, I don't know if Eastern's a very good team, but moving on, just rolling it into the offensive side of things. Offensively, this Montana team has been kind of up and down. They're a team with the skill talent to be a extremely good offense, but they are kind of held back by the 2 really key units: the quarterback room and the offensive line. Quarterback side of things is probably more interesting. They've been, the first 3 games of the season, they bounced back and forth between 2 guys, between Kealy Ayotte. I don't know how to say his first name correctly. It's Ayotte. His dad played at Montana in like the 90s, I believe, or early 2000s. He's a redshirt freshman this year, I believe. He's kind of solidified himself as the one. The 2 is Logan Fife. He's a Fresno State transfer, older vet. He's a little bit less, like, he doesn't show quite the flashes, but he kind of has been more steady, a little bit more steady as a passer and as a player generally for Montana. A lot of people thought he would win the job after week 1. He came in, the offense looked a little better with him there, but with Kealy Ayotte in there, the offense was probably had a higher ceiling, but they made more mistakes. And so a lot of people thought Logan Fife would take the job. No, they kind of went it towards Ayat. That I like Ayat more. I think Ayat's the better player, but um, they they went back and forth. They seem to really have dialed in. Hey, Ayat is our guy. They're going with Ayat. Western Carolina, Ayat gets hurt late in that game. Logan Fife comes in, looks steady. Again, looks steady. And so now, again, we're in the situation where we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be this week. We don't know if it's going to be Kiali Ayat, if he's healthy, or if they're just going to roll with Fife and give Ayat time to get healthy. I don't even really know what was wrong with Ayat, but I can't even remember what it was that was wrong with him. Let's see. I might have a little bit of an injury report. Let's see. Yeah, no. I mean, I asked some of the Montana people, like, does anyone know what the deal is with Ayat? And they're all like, dude, we have no idea. So it kind of seems like kind of a question mark quarterback again for Montana. You're either going to get Kiali Ayat, very athletic young quarterback, reminds me a little bit of Kikoa, but I think Ayat probably has a little bit better of an arm than Kikoa. You know, he's young. He throws a ball up for grabs every once in a while, but he's been efficient overall, relatively efficient for a redshirt freshman quarterback. He's very elusive in the pocket. He kind of saves them from sacks a lot of the time, but he also can hold on to the ball a little bit too long and get himself into trouble. So dynamic player, live arm. I think he has a really high ceiling as a quarterback for the Grizz. I think he's going to be damn good. He just we'll roll this into the offensive line. The offensive line for Montana hasn't been that great, especially in pass protection. They gave up a ton of sacks. I don't have the exact number, but they've given up a ton of sacks through 4 weeks, especially that North Dakota game. The Fighting Hawks were getting home like crazy, and they're not necessarily a defense known for their pressure. So I mean, it was kind of a crazy showing to see North Dakota to see Montana's offensive line struggle like that in pass protection. That combined with, I mean, Montana has some weapons in the passing game at the receiver positions and even tight end, and it feels like they really want to get the ball to those guys, but I think between the quarterback and the offensive line situation, they've kind of struggled getting the ball there between those two really key positions, and so they've started to really lean on the run game. So kind of names to watch out for offensively at the more receiver positions. Junior Bergen is that dude. He didn't play the first 2 weeks of the season, but he is a special teams nightmare. Dude returned, I think, like 4 or 5 kicks last year for a touchdown. I think it was like 4 last year for touchdowns, kickoff returns, anyways. Really good receiver as well. He was a first team All Big Sky receiver last year, I'm pretty sure. So, a very good player. He's kind of their one. They have, like we said, what's his? Keelan White, the Canadian receiver. He's kind of been their like 2, and then Aaron Fonts. They're 2 and 3, kind of 2A, 2B. They got 3 really good receivers there. They also have another dude that plays receiver for them. I think he's number 9. Name is totally escaping me. Whatever. Regardless, the one guy that Montana fans were really excited to see this year in the receiving game was Cole Grossman, tight end for them. I don't think he's played in a game yet. So that's one name to monitor. Hey, if he shows up on Saturday, got to cover Cole Grossman. He's a baller too. They got some great weapons on that perimeter. At running back, they have one of the better running back rooms in the whole country between Eli Gilman, who Jerry Rice Award winner last year. He had 175 yards versus Western Carolina. And Nick Osmo, who has been just a steady force for them. Kind of a Sam McPherson type guy, just steady, kind of overperformer, and been good for them. And so between those two running backs, they've been a really good rushing offense. I think they're like the 3rd in the country when it comes to rushing offense. Let me Let me actually check that real quick because they really have leaned on the running game with these young quarterbacks and or just kind of unproven quarterbacks. Yeah, they're number 3 in the country right now in rushing offense, right behind Davidson and Montana State. So, uh, man, Davidson being number 1 is really funny, but they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball first. Not a good thing for Eastern. um, kind of moving on. Well, we won't move on quite yet. One of the big questions with Montana has been like they really they kind of try to be a balanced offense in the sense that they like to throw the ball 30-ish times a game. And I kind of wonder if that actually is a good thing for Eastern, as in I don't want them to just give the ball to to Gilman because I'm worried that Eastern is not going to be able to stop Eli Gilman. I don't think Montana quite has the uh, offensive line that. Well, they have a solid unit. I don't think their offensive line is incredible. So I think we have a little bit better of a chance to be able to stuff the run. But I mean, Eli Gilman's probably the best running back that Eastern will see until we play Davis with what's his name? Man, what is it? Land Larson. Until Land Larson comes to town and Cheney, we won't see a better running back than Eli Gilman. And generally, I mean, Montana's the best team Eastern will have played after this Saturday. So um, after the Nevada performance, this is gonna be a tough damn game, guys. I mean, just looking kind of at the box score. Xavier Harris is that other receiver that I'm thinking of. He's a guy that they like to use in the sweep game, which I'm sure we will see a couple fly sweeps with Xavier Harris. He's a receiver, good receiver for them. But they got 4 guys out there that are, very solid receivers, as well as Sawyer Racanelli is another one that I was thinking of for them. All good players that can hurt us in the secondary. They got a lot of weapons. They got They got a couple of really good running backs. Quarterback position is a big question mark. Can they get it to their playmakers? We'll see. But I mean, it's a good offensive unit. They haven't quite performed to the same level that maybe they can yet. Which, if you're Montana, you're looking at this Eastern game as a hey, let's get this offense rolling right. That's kind of what they're thinking of. Just kind of the pass run splits really quick. I think this is important. Last week they ran the ball 48 times, passed it 40. Right around 50-50. I'm not even going to look at the Moorhead game versus North Dakota. Passed the ball 31 times, ran it 29. They're right about that 50-50 mark when it comes to pass run. And I don't know, man. I kind of think I feel like they need to lean on the running game more. In the Missouri State game, they lean on the running game a little more. 26 passes to 35 rushes. But if I'm the Grizz offensive coordinator, I think they run the ball 50 times this game. And so we really got to expect a steady dose of Eli Gilman and Nick Ostrom this week. I think that's what we're probably going to see. Moving on to defensive side of the ball, this Grizz defense it's good as always. This Grizz defense isn't maybe to the level that it has been in past years, in the sense that they're not quite as effective. They can still get to the passer. Don't get me wrong. It's just they're not quite as fast as the passer. Their running defense hasn't been quite as good as it can be in some years. I think they're just missing that big body presence in the middle that Alex Gubner was for them. He really plugged up the middle and made it tough for teams to run up the middle, and they had the speed by the other guys to really to just run things down and make good plays. I think their linebacker play hasn't been quite to the same level as it was in 2023, but hey man, they still got the dudes. Uh, Name number one to look at that everyone should be worried about: Riley Wilson, number 42 for them. That dude is one of the best defensive players in the country. He's going to be on the Buck Buchanan Award watch list, I'm sure, at the end of the year. And he is a baller, really good. He kind of mixes. He's a linebacker slash edge rushing type guy. Really, really good player. He's always near the ball. He has 15 total tackles on the year. No sacks yet, but 2 quarterback hurries. He that dude is always causing problems for teams. So definitely not a name to ignore. They have Ryan Terrell leads the team in tackles right now with 29 tackles. He's a linebacker for them. I believe he's one of the middle backers that usually always stays off ball. This Montana defense, they run their 3-3-5 stack, and then a lot of the time they'll shift to a 4-2-5 front with one of their outside backers coming down on the end and playing like an edge position. The other two guys will play more of an off-ball backer position. But they really like to blitz you. They really like to bring pressure, especially on third down. And so, the offensive line is going to have their handful, which luckily I think this Eagle offensive line is up for the challenge. But Kiko's got to get the ball out quick, or he's got to be able to make a couple throws down the field to slow them down. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to keep Kiko upright in this game. A couple other impact names for them on the TFL side of things. I think it's Vi Cahoe leads the team in TFLs, right? Or excuse me, no. Vi Cahoe has 3 TFLs for 7 yards. The team leader in TFLs is Hayden Harris, UCLA transfer, one of their defensive linemen, really tall, kind of skinny D lineman. He's a baller. He has 6 TFLs on the year, 5.5 sacks. He has been in the backfield constantly for them. Really, really good player. He's probably going to be a guy that we're going to want to, chip on if we can get help on him, because he's a really good player for them. Just kind of scrolling through some of their stats. I mean, they've got a number of guys with 3 TFLs. Andres Lehrman, Vi Cahoe, like I mentioned earlier. Kershawn Gordon, Riley Wilson both have 1.5 TFLs. 2.5 for Caleb Otlowiski, I think is how it's said. I think this Grizz defense isn't quite to the same level as it was in 2023, but still a good unit. I just think the chinks in the armor are bigger this year for them when you think about it nationally. And I think luckily Eastern kind of has a scheme style that is kind of, I wouldn't say great against the Grizz, but it kind of works. They tend to be kind of soft on the coverage on the back end and really aggressive up front with their stunts and stuff. And they try to kind of force teams to nickel and dime it down the field in kind of a different way than in Idaho. Idaho's very base when they rush. They feel like they can get home with 4. Then you think of the Grizz defensive style. They're kind of the same, hey, make teams beat you shallow, but they kind of leave. They're I wouldn't say they're very undisciplined, but they're kind of undisciplined with their gap, with their lane integrity, and they get all crazy with the stunts and stuff, which can open up lanes for rushers, for scrambling quarterbacks, ding, 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 and potentially some shorter passes to get the ball out. And I mean, if a quarterback can get out of the pocket versus the Montana Grizz, big play opportunities will be there. It's just, does Kekoa have the arm to make those big plays? Hey, I don't know. So it'll be I really do think Eastern has a talent to put up a fight with these guys. It's just, I am worried that our defense will not be able to stop Eli Gilman in that run game and Nick Osmo in that run game. So that's kind of it for the Montana defense. I mean, they're good, solid unit. One of the better units we'll see this year, I think. As usual, Montana is a good defensive team. It's a Bobby Hauck led team. They're going to be a good special teams unit. They got some dangerous return men. They're going to play their asses off. But this is Montana on the red, guys. Like Eastern, I mean, we've got to think this is Eastern's number one, like biggest. This is going to be their most well prepared they're going to be for a game all year, hopefully. Well, not hopefully, but like you've got to think this is a very big game for Eastern. It's a hey, we've never lost to this team on the red. You have to beat Montana at home. Absolutely have to. It means a lot for the alumni and for the school as a whole, this game. So I really hope that that's been really beaten to the players' head is like, this is more than just you guys. This is a school as a whole thing. Like playing Montana on the red. You don't lose to Montana on the red. So with that being said, we're going to move on to, we're going to hear a word from Walk On Apparel before we move into keys of the game. Yeah. Walk On Apparel sponsors the Eagles Power Hour now. Walk On Apparel focuses on capturing Eastern's culture and traditions in apparel designs that are as different as they are affordable. Plus, 10% of the profit from every sale gets donated right back to the Eagle Athletic Fund. That's a win for you and your alma mater. EPH listeners get 10% off Eastern gear at checkout using code EPH10. That's EPH10. New designs drop throughout the season, so go check out walkon-apparel.com or follow them on Twitter and Instagram to see what's dropping next. Walkon-apparel.com, up the fans. Shout out to them. Awesome dudes. And they always come out with new stuff throughout the season as new little catchphrases and ideas pop into Colby's head throughout the year. So definitely go support Walk On Apparel. We get a little bit of a kickback if you use that promo code. So, yeah, go check them out. Link will be down below. Now, keys to this game. This is I think the spread is right around 14 points, which is a lot lower than maybe we expected it to be. I thought it was going to be more of a 25-point spread. I thought that's what I was thinking before this game. And so I've got to think that people are worried about the quarterback situation in Montana. Is Aiyat going to play? Is Logan Fife going to play? I think they kind of need to pick one and stick with it. Who is healthy? If Aiyat is healthy and his mobility is not affected by his injury, I think they go with Aiyat. If not, they're going to go with Fife and roll with Fife throughout the whole game. And hey, man, if Fife plays decent, he's probably going to start the rest of the year. I think key number one to this game, it stopped the run. I mean, it's infuriating that we have to say this every week, but Eastern absolutely has to stop the run. I don't care if we give up a bunch of passing yards. We have to slow down Eli Gilman. That's got to be rule number one for this Eagle defense, especially. Make Fife make throws down the field that he hasn't necessarily shown the ability to do a ton and consistently yet. Make Aiyat do that stuff. Get some pressure on those guys, and I mean, I think we can get pressure with 4. I don't necessarily think we have to do all the crazy stunts and stuff to be able to get a little bit of pressure on this Montana front, in the passing game, anyways. And so, I think load the box, stop the run, and we got to tackle better than last week. Just as a whole, we got to tackle better. Secondary needs to tackle better. Linebackers need to tackle better. D-line needs to tackle better. Those are the two really keys to that side of the game. Defensively or offensively for Eastern, defensively for Montana. Eastern just has to find an identity and stick with it. It feels like this Eastern team is stuck between wanting to be a power running team with 12 personnel and a full 12 personnel and trying to be a run ground and pound team with the running quarterbacks that we have, but then we're kind of caught between two identities offensively right now. It feels like we have to kind of buy into one or the other. Are we going to be a quick hitter West Coast type of team, stay ahead of the chains, a lot of quick short throws, or are we going to be a running team? I know those two things go together, but when we throw in a trick play, when we throw in a deep shot, this team gets behind the chains and they can't catch back up because I mean the throwing ability in the intermediate passing game hasn't been there so far this year. So um, I would like to see. I think Eastern can run the ball. I think Eastern will be able to run the ball up the middle. I really do. I mean, this Grizz defense is a good run front, but that I mean, teams have hurt them there throughout the year. I think running the ball will slow down their pass rush and give us more of a chance to get guys like Chisholm and guys like Williams and hopefully, I mean, Nolan almost he looked healthy at practice the other day. Hopefully, those three guys are able to play in this game and get open over the middle of the field. I think that's a big deal in this game. I think Eastern has to be able to push the ball down the field with Kikoa. They got to be able to run the ball. I don't know how effective all of the little short passes are going to be with a very aggressive Grizz defense. That I mean, they like to sit back in coverage, but they come up and tackle really aggressively. I think. Yeah, I don't have confidence in our quarterbacks to be able to nickel and dime it down the field consistently for 10 plays, which is kind of what Montana's trying to force you to do. I think we got to run the ball and then we got to hit a couple deep shots over the middle. And I mean, guys like Cronquist, guys like JT Weir got open a couple times in the Nevada game. I mean, if our quarterbacks can put it on them, we have the receiver talent to make big plays. That's just we gotta put it on those guys. I think the offensive line can hold up. I think Malik Dotson has the potential to make some big plays this week, which I would absolutely love to see. But we're gonna have to play probably the game of our damn lives to keep up with this Montana squad because they're a really good team. They probably outmatch Eastern on both sides of the ball right now, special teams as well. They probably have as much as I hate Bobby Houck, they probably have the advantage on the X's and O's side of things right now. And so, I mean, the Eagles are going to have to play their asses off. Also, I mean, Eastern's got to force a couple turnovers. Like if they don't force turnovers, this Eagle offense or this Eagle defense is screwed, which is, I mean, unfortunate but true. And this has been a gripe for me all the time, every week. Is this Eagle offense has to score. Anytime Eastern gets a stop defensively, they just have to score and roll that momentum because it feels like Eastern can just never score off of a dang turnover or off of a defensive stop. It always is in response to a opponent touchdown. Then we go score. But like we just have to score off of a stop, give ourselves a lead like we did in the Monmouth game. The last 3 weeks, we've just been unable to do that. So those are my big. I kind of went over a lot of things, but the keys to the game that I feel are there. But rolling it into one of my favorite segments of the week now. We're going to talk about Patty's picks. So there's a good slate of games this week in the Big Sky, and we'll pick the Eastern game at the end. But I already kind of spoiled my pick. So let's see. I'm just pulling up the scoreboard and the games right now on my other screen. Starting it off, let's go Cal Poly versus Northern Colorado. This is a fun one. I think Northern Colorado wins. Northern Colorado at home is a good team. I think Cal Poly is just really bad. I don't think Cal Poly will be able to move the ball in Northern Colorado like at all. And Cal Poly doesn't have a very good rush defense. All Northern Colorado does is run the ball. So I think Northern Colorado wins that one by probably like 2 or 3 scores. I think Northern Colorado is actually a step up in a tier from Cal Poly. I think Cal Poly is down there on their own, just in their own world down below there. So Northern Colorado for that game. Next one, Portland State going to Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a top 25 team. They're a good SoCon team. They're coming off of their 0-3 coming into this game. They haven't been quite as good as we maybe expected them to be nationally. Chattanooga, that is. But Portland State's awful. I think Chattanooga wins this one big. down in Tennessee. Chatty is a lot better than Portland State. Portland State's not very good. It's a long road trip. Portland State, I don't know if they win a game this year, man. I don't know. But Chatty big in that one. McNeese comes to Ogden to play Weber State. McNeese, home of Clifton McDowell right now. Weber State, they're 2-2 coming into this game. A lot of people are saying this is kind of an upset watch type of game for Weber. A lot of people think McNeese maybe rolls in there and beats Weber. I don't see it. I think Weber State beats McNeese by 3 or 4 scores. I don't think this one's very close, actually. I really think Weber will be able to roll in this one. I don't really believe in the McDowell experiment and McNeese. They've been okay. They've been kind of frisky, but I don't think they're a good team. I think Weber is a good team. And I don't think McNeese will be able to move the ball on that Weber defense, in my opinion. That's what I'm thinking, but I could be totally wrong. I didn't watch McNeese that closely. I'm picking Weber in that one by a couple scores. This is kind of interesting one. Montana State goes down to Pocatello to play Idaho State in the ICCU Dome. I think it's kind of an interesting matchup. Typically, I don't think it's an interesting matchup stylistically, but it's kind of interesting. Idaho State's kind of a program on the rise, it seems like, and they always play well at home. It seems like other teams seem to play poorly in that dome. I think Idaho State has a fighting chance, but I think stylistically it really favors Montana State. I think Montana State will be able to move the ball with ease on the ground, and they win this one by a couple touchdowns. But I am interested to see can Idaho State might be able to move the ball really well on Montana State. So we'll see how that matches up. I think Montana State wins this one by a couple scores though. Sac State goes to Northern Arizona. Now, this one I think this one, besides the obvious number one game of the week, I think this is the second most interesting matchup in the Big Sky this week. Sac State looks like they found something with Conklin at quarterback, and it seems like they kind of found their identity offensively that they have been trying to find the last, it seems like 9 games in a row between the Conklin and the Caden Bennett experiment going back and forth. Conklin has kind of solidified himself as a starter. Tao Tolliver has looked like a really good running back for them. Their offensive line has looked good. Defense is looked really good. They've been getting a ton of pressure, a lot of penetration. They've had back-to-back 9 plus TFL games against Texas A&M Commerce, and who else did they play? They played another bad team, but the TFLs have been impressive. By Nichols was the other team. 2 Southland Conference teams that are supposed to be kind of mid-level to good Southland Conference teams. I think they had 18 plus combined TFLs in those 2 games. Really impressive from Sac State. They look really good. But Northern Arizona is no slouch, and they're playing at home at the Walkup Sky Dome at altitude. Northern Arizona looks like a team that is going to be frisky. They're kind of following the Montana State mold of let's run the football, let's play defense. They're trying to make quarterback a little bit less important because they've kind of always been, hey, if they have a quarterback, they're okay. If they don't, they're not that good. But it looks like they're playing some defense this year. It looks like they're running the football a little bit this year. They played Incarnate Word relatively tough. They turned the ball over 9 times last week, but with 4th down conversions and actual turnovers, they actually outgained Incarnate Word, even though they lost 38-14. But they had put it to Utah Tech better than Davis did. So I think Northern Arizona has a chance to make this one interesting. I think Sac State outlasts NAU, but I think NAU makes this really interesting for 2.5, 3 quarters, and Sac State kind of pulls away towards the end of this one. But I think that one's going to be a relatively close game at home for NAU. I got 2 more. So this is probably the game of the week in the Big Sky. As a whole, I really think this is the most interesting game. Idaho goes down to UC Davis. Both teams are top 15 teams this year. UC Davis has been, I've said it over and over again, great team between the 20s. Once they get in the red zone, offensively, they just haven't been able to punch the ball in very consistently. Offensive line hasn't been quite as good as potentially they have been in the past. Idaho, they defensively look like one of the best defenses in the country. Offensively, they're kind of they know what their identity is. They're just very limited by the quarterback position and the offensive line, as in they have a lot of injuries on the offensive line that was already not great, which has been a problem for them. And they're on their backup quarterback, this is his second year ever starting as a quarterback from high school and above. So he only started 1 year at high school, and this is his first 3 or 4 starts as a quarterback at Idaho. He has been okay, but he definitely hasn't been excellent. Um, I've got to think this one's really a close one to me. I think Idaho wins it, but I think this really comes down to how does Jack Wagner play. I I don't know, man. Part of me actually kind of wants to pick Davis. I think Davis is like a 3-point underdog or something like that. But Idaho's defense has just been so damn good. I have a hard time thinking Davis will be able to score more than field goals on Idaho unless there's broken coverage or something like that. Um, Idaho's run defense has been really good. Their pass defense has been very, very bend but don't break. Cover four, bend but don't break. Make them beat you. Make the quarterback beat you with underneath stuff. Hastings likes to throw underneath stuff, but once they get down in that red zone, it doesn't quite work as well. So, and I think Idaho's going to have Hastings under pressure all night. I don't think that Davis front is as good as it has been in the past and as good as it can be. So I think Idaho squeaks out a really, really close game, probably like a field goal type of game in the end. But Davis absolutely can win this game, and I think Davis has a shot to win this one by a couple possessions. If a few things go their way, turnovers bounce their way or something. But I'm picking Idaho. I think Idaho wins this one, a close game, and. Of course, the Montana versus Eastern Washington game. I am picking Eastern Washington because I don't care. I'm not picking Montana. Never, ever. Which is, at least on the red. I'm never picking Montana on the red. I think, I think Montana is the better team. I think Montana is probably the more talented team and the more complete team and the better team in every aspect. Do I think Montana's going to win this game? Probably. But I'm picking Eastern Washington because I love Eastern. I hate Montana. And that's just the reality of it. It's a straight up homer pick. Straight up, I hate the Grizz pick. I don't care. I'll take the 0-1 on the pick'em record if I have to. So, yeah, guys, get to Roost. I know that this probably doesn't look like a very exciting Montana matchup this year, but it's Montana. The environment's going to be great. It's a 5 p.m. kickoff. Should be a really fun environment. Students are back on campus. I'm really, really rooting for an Eastern upset. To really, you know, I, I really think Eastern has the talent for this game to be a great game. It's just the X's and O's match up with that. We will see. The Eagle offense has to be on all cylinders. The Eagle defense has to force a couple turnovers. If everything goes right and a couple things go Eagles' way, Eastern can absolutely win this game, in my opinion. But the matchups are very tough, and so we'll see. I'm picking Eastern, but I think in all reality, Montana takes this one. But that will just about do it for me, guys. Thanks everyone for listening. Again, get to Roost. It should be a fun one. Should be a fun environment. Hopefully, we'll see. Should be a competitive game. Hopefully, don't know how competitive it really will be, but we go support these players, dude. They deserve it. They're all good dudes. So yeah. But without further ado, thanks guys for listening. Keep an eye out for a Tuesday recap episode of this game. Hopefully, maybe sooner, maybe later. Just depends on how school goes. School starting this week for me, so I'll be pretty busy. So, but yeah, that's all I got, guys. Thanks for listening, everyone, and